Okay, so first and foremost, shout out to my brother Julian, who's probably losing his shit right now considering I'm wearing his jumper and jacket. So thank you, Julian. What I want to discuss today is something which I've experienced lately, which quite frankly trumps all else I've ever experienced in my life. Whether you have or have not heard about what I have or haven't been through, it's been quite a journey. It's been a journey, not because I'm anything special. I'm no more special than anyone else, and frankly everyone's special in their own right. But I've just attracted and written into the script for my life and chosen which codes to activate in my DNA, in my life, in my mind, in all facets of that which I've experienced in this lifetime. And not that long ago, I was about to go onto some heavy meds. I could not take life how it was anymore for me. For the best part of 24 months, I've had crippling intense anxiety and fears within. The amount of energy and mental prep and the like I would put into doing the most simple everyday tasks, such as responding to a text message, even opening a text message. I'd have fear. My heart would be pumping, my body temperature would change, I'd get skin flashes. I do have pre-existing gut irritations, but my gut would flare up. And I'd just change in a heartbeat, even when I'd see a text pop up from someone who never has any issues with me. And even if they did have issues, I can handle it, right? But I believed I couldn't, and then I thought I could, and I still fucking feared it. I could not even eat food, which I just made sometimes. Like, I'd actually drive to the shops, buy food, come back home, cook it, go to sit down and eat it, and I just couldn't. I've had bursts of taking some supplements, like some natural ones, to help my body out a bit. And I'd be taking them, I'd feel my energy change, I'd be getting back into movement again. And just like that, I'd wake up and go to take them one day and I'd gag on them. And, I'd normally swallow 6, 7, 8 at a time. That's all good. I'd gag on them and then I'd spit them out, and I'd have flashbacks to when I was in primary school. And, I guess parents strongly suggested I took them, not to say forced, but to say forced. And I just had these images pop up and I thought, okay, interesting. I can understand why I'm being triggered. So I did a bit of work around it and just cleared any unresolved feelings. Just had a look at any unresolved feelings below the surface I may have had pop up recently, which could be a factor in me not wanting to do something which my parents used to recommend. I just had a feeling that there was some unresolved tension with mum or dad, of which there has been a lot of melted away recently, still a bit there, but I couldn't swallow supplements. I wasn't eating. I started making bulletproof coffees and having about 1,400 calories in the coffee, and most days not eating the rest of the day, or perhaps eating whatever was left over from dinner late at night, or even binging late at night, which is a fantastic cycle to find yourself in. And I think as one reflective of a lot of society, people do something great in isolation, but then in contrast to the rest of their life, well, what the fuck's the point of it? Why spend money making a bulletproof coffee, telling people you're fasting, and then you're binging? Clearly, it's just not what's best for you. Not that that matters, because it's been prevalent the past few years of a lot of, discrepancies in me really looking after my body. And what I mean by that is my actions haven't reflected the fact that I've truly said I'm knuckling down and putting my body first. Anyway, I digress. Seeing the psych was amazing. It was great. I was seeking a label of such. I've had a lot of symptoms. I've known my symptoms and all the rest. And I was seeking a diagnosis of such. I was just going in, being honest, letting him dictate where he wanted to go, but also stamping down my foot when he was taking me down a pathway which I just knew was just not going to be of service. And, you know, got a few diagnoses from him, various disorders and such. And, you know, he was telling me how currently I'm on a downhill slope, of which at the time I couldn't have challenged him on that. I quite frankly was. I was feeling more and more anxiety. I was feeling guilt and shame. And ever since I started valuing personal development, I've had a memory which is gifted and troubled me with memory of stuff that occurred when I was even 1 and 2. So I have non-stop stream of random shit popping into my head, interactions between family members, altercations between people around me, even emotions and sensations people felt when around me, and the impact I had on sort of taking them and changing their state from a very young age. And the more life went on every day, I was being not triggered, but just being brought to my awareness how many fucking things happened as a kid. It was crippling. It was exciting, invigorating, inspiring, but it was also crippling. See, the past 12 months or so have been more than that. We're in 2019. The past 18 months have been tracking basically every day. Most conversations I have a few key points, and it's led to me just, funnily enough, I thought I'd go back and read it, but I haven't had to. I just remember a lot of what's been said. And the commonality between a lot of interactions I've had is that as the days go on, there are more things popping up. More and more things. I thought I'd get a point after 6 or 7 months where my brain's like, okay, I'm just gonna chill now and give you a bit more calm. But the more work I did, the deeper down the rabbit hole I got. And there's nothing wrong with that. But how does that translate to everyday life? What it meant was that I couldn't actually be present. I lost the ability to be present in most situations because my brain was just like a security guard watching 20 different cameras, different feeds. I couldn't bring my awareness to anything. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That can be a great skill to have at times. I mean, when in public or when criticizing something or when problem solving, it serves you very, very, very well. And that's my sort of analytical brain taking over there. Hence why I'm pretty great at giving constructive criticism and feedback. But it was not so nice. I was not feeling so nice. It was like, okay, well, I've got a studio. I could train every day. I'm in a relationship. I've got the best connection I've ever had with my immediate family members after I confided in mum and dad for several hours on, I guess, the truth about myself and my life. And it was just like something's not adding up. One of my favorite things to say, 1 + 1 = 3. There's always something we're not seeing, always. Doesn't mean you can never not be happy with the present, but if 1 + 1 = 3, it's like, okay, well, is there an invisible 1 somewhere? Is there a 1 × 2 somewhere? Is 3 actually like an 8 and we're missing? Like, there's so many variables in the equations of life. In every situation, there's so many variables. But there's also a truth. Not my truth, not your truth. There's just a truth to most situations. The truth. And many liken the truth to their religion of choice. Now, religion's something I would love to go deeper down at a later date because many have asked my opinion on it. Put simply, I don't believe in something where at the center of it, it's forgive me for my sins. I'd rather believe or follow something that says accept me for my truth. So I've experienced against my will having to go to religious classes to get into a certain school, spent years and years, quite frankly, experiencing frequent but low exposures of trauma related to that because it was the last thing in the world I wanted to be doing. And I've witnessed people close and afar be completely alienate their life around them to find the truth, only to then realize that they were just pawn in other people's game. Which, there's nothing wrong with that. Once again, we learn our lessons. But religiously speaking, that's my belief. I can't believe in something where the basis of it is, forgive me for my sins. Please forgive me. Please, external entity, make things better for me. Once I get your approval, external entity, I will feel good about myself. Until that point, I will live in a state of guilt and sin, and I'll let that echo into all my interactions with everyone. So I do great things for everyone, putting myself below them to be of service until I can feel right with myself again. That's just my belief. I don't want to be associated with it. I'd rather be in a world of, accept me for my truth, accept me for the fact that I can do what most people call as sinning, because I'm trying to master myself. I'm trying to accept myself for not what I'm capable of, for what I have been capable of and what I have done, and accept myself for the destructive nature of which my existence brings. And that destructive nature is something present in all of us. But most of us don't get to have the light shown on that, because we're reacting and responding and engaging with others based on the really small, superficial daily occurrences. Anyway, it was at a dark point mentally, and that echoed through relationships, my business, my growth in some areas and lack of growth in others. And it was a day where I was just pondering, why me, why this, and what the fuck do I do from here? Like, seriously, what the fuck do I do from here? I just don't know what step to take. I can't make sense of the fact I've spent so much money being under world leaders in their own right, for fitness, for sales, for spirituality, personal development, sexuality, other facets which have been exposed to briefly or more in depth. I don't understand why I'm the most educated. I have knowledge and wisdom which, quite frankly, if I really align myself in the right way, would make me a world leader of sorts. Why am I still struggling with the everyday tasks? Why can I just not set up a life where I can afford to eat whatever the fuck I want? Why am I struggling to do the most simple things? And I realized that I've had to allow myself to be who I've always been. Now, from a very, very young age, I've been terrible, or I like to think of as being consistent with pulling out of events last minute. Sometimes because of anxiety, often that anxiety attributed to the fact that I just really wanted to stay present in my energy and I didn't want disruptions to that. Do I regret bailing on so many people last minute? You fucking betcha. There were times where I had girls waiting for me to go to their house just to hang, or more friends who were dying to see me, who would travel across town to be in my presence. And I was just so caught up in my own inadequacies and my fear of people judging me based on my eczema or my celiac disease or other stuff which at the time wasn't normalized. I do wish that I could have engaged in so much more interaction, but I wouldn't wish to change it because it had to happen for good reason. But I thought, okay, well, my truth for myself, based on my actions, is that I value being in my own energy more than giving into other people. So I think it's about time I commit 100% to staying in that, living in that truth. I also think that when I've been in a less inspired state or fearful state, I abide by structure a lot. I abide by strict organization protocols and I live my life by time. I don't want to take a single more moment of this lifetime worrying about someone being late or me being late or not having enough time or money or any of that stuff. I've had too much of that for a lifetime. I've used it, I've felt it, I've expressed it, I've internalized it, bottled it up. I've done everything with it way too much. I don't like the impact it has. I know it served me, but I don't want to abide by that anymore. I don't want to abide by the socialized norms of, oh yeah, that's okay, don't have time for this, don't have money for that, blah, 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 rah, 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 hashtag I'm a victim. Fuck that. So moving forwards, I'm not going to live my life by time. I've realized lately, and came up with a few ideas, but I'm going to work out a way to integrate my calendar and schedule with a few things, so I simply get alerts indicating it's time to shift tasks of what I'm doing, or it's time to address an impending matter, meaning I'm not going to live my life by time. I'm not going to. I'm going to use particular apps to interact with clients and friends and live off voice messages and all the rest. I'm not going to live off of what time did I send a message? Is it too soon to send a message? Is it too late at night to send this message? Is it too... Hashtag verbal diarrhea. Fuck that. So time, no thank you. So that was like, okay, that's going to be interesting. How can I live daily life and grow a business where people rely on my time and me being on time to serve them? I thought, okay, well, it's quite simple. Moving forwards, when there's clients back to back, I'm going to tell them, hey, when it hits time, just pop down to the studio, warm up upstairs or go for a walk beforehand or whatnot, but jump on or call me and prank me or just knock on the studio door when it's time, so I know, okay, it's time to wrap up. And I'll give that same I'll just keep that going. So if I'm a few minutes over, that's okay. I'll go a few minutes over the next person, and everyone will be okay with it because everyone gets treated equally in that regard. But okay, cool. So I've abolished that. What about when I wake up? Okay, well, I'm going to set my alarm clock at a time where I have enough time to do what I need to. Meaning that I'm just going to trust myself that if I wake up and have to go to work at a certain time, I'm trust that I'm going to stretch, have my shower, do my morning flow, and it's going to be in sync with how much time it needs to be. Meaning I'm not going to check my phone constantly, worry and raising my cortisol. Okay, cool. Where am I getting at with all of this now? Well, if you could control time by taking control of your state, that in itself changes your life, truly, because those micro spikes of cortisol, the stress hormone, the hormone that responds to the stresses of life, if you can control those micro surges of that, naturally you're going to be in a more grounded state. The flow-on effect of not having an instant or consistent cortisol spikes is that, well, you're going to be more present consistently in whatever it is you're doing. What does that translate to? Well, that means greater interactions and relationships built with everyone you engage with. It means you're going to hear what people are saying, but also listen to their words and also read between the lines. In sales, this is present in the phrase, so what I really hear you saying is, for example, if I'm kicking a footy with someone, or if you are kicking the footy or cooking or having sex with someone and they stop and say, shit, I'm really hungry. Okay, so what I hear you saying is you'd like to go eat now. More times than not, it might be met by resistance, but people don't want to eat. If at work with PT clients, oh, I'm really tired, so I have to do a few more reps. Oh, okay, interesting. So what you're really saying is you don't want me to hold you accountable to the standards of which you're capable of. True? Oh, yeah, I'll do a few more reps. That's what I thought. And it goes on and on and on and on. And when you cannot be inhibited by your stress, that means you can listen and make the other person feel heard. And all of a sudden, when someone feels heard, they're more inclined to open up and give you more of themselves. So if all of a sudden you're giving and receiving simultaneously in that moment, makes you feel more appreciated and loved, makes you feel better about yourself, makes others feel better. Well, isn't that a fascinating outcome from something so simple? And this impact can be achieved by a range of factors. Stop living by time. Put on do not disturb while driving on your phone, so when you're driving you just chill the fuck out. Not really pick up your phone as much, or turn off all notifications, go on social media, and as soon as you read a message, respond to it. Don't let it sit there and let it build up with a range of other things that you should be doing in your life. That rippled on or extrapolated to your business, well, that's where things get interesting then. Because all of a sudden you're present with your client or your friend or your coworker, your colleague, your boss, your superior, those inferior, those who are applying for jobs. When you're applying for jobs, when you're interviewing, when you're asking questions, when you're having a question being asked of you, the 1%ers make a big difference. Because all of a sudden that shift in your energy means that your subconscious is speaking to the other person's subconscious, and the conversation goes like this: hey, I like your energy. I want more of it. Well, if you want more of it, you got to give me more of you. Okay, yeah, there you go. And then consciously, it's like, I don't know what it is about you, but something about that person, I've got a good feeling about this. And that occurs when you say, well, I'm going to start respecting myself enough and honoring what I am capable of and honoring everything I have done, most importantly, for good or for worse. And I'm going to continue taking a step forwards. And this is what meeting someone halfway actually means. Oh, come on, man, meet me halfway. It doesn't mean how many people believe it means, that someone goes out of their way to do something for you. No. What it means is, and I like to describe it to clients like this: imagine two people, and in the middle there's a mirror. It's a mirror which has a mirror on both sides, so they cannot see each other. They're both just staring at themselves in the mirror. And in order for one to walk forwards and meet someone halfway, they must be prepared and willing and able to look in the mirror, look at their reflection, look at all their scary shit, and continue taking a step forward. When they look in the mirror, own their shit, put aside their fear, guilt, shame, resentment, anxiety, insecurities, and all the rest that's going on. They're able to step towards that mirror and say, you know what, I'm comfortable being this close with myself, staring at themselves, eye-fucking themselves, eye-gazing with themselves in the mirror. They're present. And when they're present, they're able to be of best service to others. And that person, when they're in the middle, they don't particularly care if the other person doesn't meet them there. Because when that person has felt that fear, done a really scary thing and owned their shit, they're feeling so great internally. They're feeling powerful, full of power, empowered. Flip the EM in empowered. Me powered. They're feeling powerful within themselves. They don't need anything external to fulfill them anymore because they're already full of abundance. So this is very interesting because what that means is that person can be of greater service to someone else. But it also means that the person in the middle won't judge the other person. So if you're in a relationship and someone's dissing you for not being prepared to take a step forward, or they're making you feel guilty or anything like that, if they've been an absolute dickhead about it, as in an inconsiderate fuck, and holding it against you and not really just accepting you for who you are, well, perhaps they haven't come halfway. Perhaps they're operating under an illusion. But if someone's been sort of okay about it, or even if they're being dickish, but they're speaking the truth, and you could acknowledge that if you put emotions aside, well, they're probably there. And you don't owe it to them to meet them halfway. You owe it to yourself because you're looking in the mirror. So the success in your life, the ability to connect with others, is completely dependent on how prepared you are to look in your mirror and take a step forward, and look in the mirror and take a step forward, and look not necessarily into your eyes, but also as what you see. If you see a devil, if you see a monster, if I can't even stand to look in the mirror because I get reminded of what I've done, well, keep staring. Keep feeling that crawling sensation under your skin that makes you feel really, really uncomfortable. Keep pushing forwards. And pushing forwards doesn't necessarily mean movement. It doesn't mean that you're actually taking a step forwards. It could just be staying still, because if you're staying still rather than going backwards, you're still moving forwards. And it's important to appreciate that and appreciate stillness and calmness in your life, because that's an important factor